guys, welcome back to another episode of Mavis and Me. Today I want to talk about something that's kind of come up lately to me, and that is why I think that 100% positive training is oftentimes doomed to fail. And let me just get started with, I've got a couple dog clients that I work training with, and I've seen kind of a swing in the pendulum from the days when I first started learning how to train dogs, when it was all the Kohler method of, yanking and jerking dogs around with no treats, no rewards. Just basically, they were treated not very well. To now where it's almost 100% positive and everyone's afraid to tell their dog no, or pull the leash back and put their dog into position. They've been led to believe that they're going to be bad owners if their dogs experience any kind of discomfort, either physically or emotionally. Let's talk about these 100% positive trainers. And I do think there are people out there who can absolutely get 95% of dogs to do what they want them to do with positive training. And that's wonderful. They have these skills that they're good at reading dog language. They're good at sensing when their dog, the dog they're working with is at threshold or beyond threshold, needs to be removed back from something. But the average dog owner doesn't have these skills. And all we're doing is setting these people up for disappointment, and they feel terrible. I've definitely heard it from them that, if I suggest, well, why don't you just use the leash and put your dog into the right position, just, pull the dog over here. And they look at me like, well, that would hurt her feelings and that might hurt her neck, and I don't want to do that to my dog. Well, I'm not suggesting you yank the dog and flip it over on its back. Maybe it's just a gentle, guiding the dog. And maybe it is a little bit of a correction, a little pop on the leash, on a flat collar, or gentle pressure on a pinch collar or something to get the dog to respond. But isn't that better to teach the dog to think about its own boundaries versus just pulling on a leash and, making its boundaries? Let me make sure I've got one thing straight. When I talk about consequences or corrections, that doesn't have to mean anything violent or awful to the dog. It can be something simple as having a treat in your hand, asking the dog to do something that it should know to do because you've already trained this behavior. And when the dog decides not to do it, you just hide the treat. That is a correction. That is a consequence. The dog realizes, I'm not going to get that treat. It's gone now, right? Bringing the treat back out, asking the dog to do the thing again, maybe making it a little easier this time. If you think maybe the dog's not understanding, that's fine. That's, there's nothing wrong with that. But correction doesn't have to be something, awful for the dog. It can just be something as simple as removing a treat or taking a step back from where the dog wants to go. If the dog starts forging ahead, stopping your walk, taking a step back and saying, nope, you need to get back into place before we're going to keep going. They understand this. Dogs are very good at this kind of concept. So for us to, be thinking we need to be talking at them all the time, and that we really don't. Really, we need to just show them things, remove those things, and reward for those things that they do right. It certainly doesn't have to mean injuring the dog or stomping on their psyche. I see people following their dog when we're going for a walk, and they're like, well, I got to go this way now because my dog is going this way. And it's like, but we're walking this way, so let's make the whole pack stay together. Let's pull the dog over here, and we're going to go. No, they don't. They're just like, well, the dog's going this way. I don't understand that. I don't understand that behavior. That doesn't sound like a fun walk to me. That sounds like a dog-led, dash through the neighborhood. So I do want to talk about how I think it's gone too far. I think that, there's a nice balance out there. I'm a balanced trainer. I believe in 95% positive rewards and everything, but I have no problem stepping in and saying, that's not going to fly. And I'm correcting a dog and saying no, or, physically putting it back into position, or disciplining it a little bit so that it understands this unwanted behavior so that they don't do it again. I'm not trying to make the dog upset or hurt its feelings. I'm just giving it boundaries and structure. And a lot of dogs need that. These dogs that I see with these poor people who are trying to be 100% positive, their dogs are very anxious and they're nervous. And what that is the dog, no one's making decisions. The dog doesn't feel like there's any structure in its life. And so, maybe it's the structure. It's like, well, I'm going to lead us over here, or I'm going to bark incessantly, until whatever threat that I perceive goes away, even if it's not a threat. Those kind of things, that's a nervous dog who needs more structure, that needs an owner to say, hey, I got this. You're okay. Just relax. And believe it or not, they like that. That's what they want. They want to just sit down and say, okay, Lady's got this. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to stare off this direction and not worry about it. When it's time to go, Lady will tell me and we will go that way, and I will be happy to go with Lady. Versus a dog that won't get in the car because it does. I just see dogs throwing tantrums, and they're not necessary, and they're not they're not coming from a place like a human child where they're just learning how to develop their personality. These are insecure dogs that are not comfortable. And this is not doing them any favors. They need the structure. These dogs would be much happier and stress-free if they felt like they didn't have to make these major decisions. They want to follow. Down deep, they want to be led. I highly recommend that, you know, if you want to be a 100% positive trainer, by all means, do all the reading you can, research it. It's fascinating. And I'm all for lots and lots of rewards and positive stuff. But make sure that you're not letting your dog just walk all over you, which will not be good for your dog. It won't be good for you, and it's certainly not good for your relationship. So let's go back to that 5% that the positive trainers turn away, that they can't help. That's where I come in. Those are the dogs that need the structure and the balance of, you know, a balanced training session. They need to know what's right, and they need to know what's wrong. Those are the dogs that maybe think outside the box and do things that we consider to be naughty, and we just need to explain to them that that isn't what we want, and give them an alternative behavior. It doesn't mean we're in there beating them or we're choking them to death or we're doing anything horrible. It's just balanced. The dog feels more secure because the structure is there, because the communication is coming in balanced from both sides. They understand yes and they understand no. All in all, I hope that your take from this video is that it's okay to train your dog with food, for sure. It's okay to make that food disappear if the dog does something wrong. It's certainly okay to use your physical body to move them in a position that you need them in. If that means walking a certain direction, loading up into the car, standing in a heel position, or staying in a down position, these kind of things, there's nothing wrong with moving your dog with a leash. I don't see a problem with that. It's a form of communication. If I just said, no, you're not doing it right, and the dog was off leash, no, keep doing things until you figure it out. The dog has no clue what I want, right? If I use the leash to guide the dog into a spot, and then I say yes, I release the leash a little bit, and I give the dog a treat when it stays there, the dog is actively learning. It's actively learning, this is what I do to get that treat. Okay, so let's make sure that we are fair to our dogs by using a balanced system of rewards and, you know, corrections that we're going to talk about, we talked about, and that we communicate with them, because it all comes down to communication. If we can't communicate with our dogs and tell them what we want, there's no way that they're going to figure it out. We need to make sure that we are very clear and that we repeat these things often enough that we know our dog understands it, and then we take it out in public and we do it in different spots so we know that our dog has adapted that language to all these different situations, so that he understands that sit means sit in the living room, sit means sit in the kitchen, it means sit at the park, it means sit at the vet clinic, everywhere that it means sit. Then we can bring in corrections. Once our dog understands what we want from him, then we can bring in corrections. But we can still walk our dog on a leash, make it go the direction we want to go, load it into a car, keep it from pulling, keep it from barking incessantly, things like that. Okay? Until next time, have a good one. Bye.